Names and some details have been changed to protect privacy. This story is based on real events. She waited years to get revenge, and then he vanished. On the night of March 5th, 2021, a 30-year-old man named Ethan Miller walked out of a bar in a quiet Midwestern suburb. He got into a small, white compact car, driven by a woman no one recognized. Before leaving, Ethan smiled at his friends and said he was spending the weekend with a woman from his past. That was the last time anyone ever saw him. By the next morning, Ethan hadn't come home. His phone was off. Messages went unanswered, and no one knew who that woman was or where she took him. This is a story about hidden identities, long-buried trauma, and how one seemingly harmless online message triggered a chain of events that could never be stopped. Who was Ethan Miller? Ethan was born on November 26, 1989, in Riverview, Ohio, a town known for its calm streets, good schools, and sense of safety. From an early age, he showed a passion for music. At 6, he started playing guitar. As a teenager, he was deeply into rock music and spent weekends at small local shows with friends he'd known since childhood. After high school, Ethan chose not to attend college. Instead, he took a steady job at a local retail store and stayed close to home. In his early 20s, he started a family. He moved in with his girlfriend, and together they had 2 children, a son and a daughter. Friends described him as a hands-on father, reliable, social, and outwardly stable. Nothing about his life suggested that it was about to collapse. And then there was her. Claire Walker was born the same year as Ethan and graduated from the same high school, though they barely knew each other back then. After graduation, Claire joined the U.S. Coast Guard, serving several years stationed in the South. During that time, she married, had 2 children, and later relocated to the East Coast. After leaving the service, Claire reinvented herself online. Under a pseudonym, she began creating adult content on subscription platforms. The income was steady, comparable to her military salary, and her real identity remained carefully hidden behind an online persona. To everyone around them, Claire and Ethan had no connection at all, until early 2021, the message that changed everything. It started with a simple interaction on social media. Nothing alarming, nothing public. No one, not their families, not their partners, not their friends, suspected that this quiet online exchange would end in disappearance. The last night, on Friday evening, Ethan followed his usual routine. After work, he met friends in a neighborhood bar around 5:30 p.m. The plan was simple: 1 drink, casual conversation, then home for dinner. They talked about weekend plans, family obligations, normal life. When it was Ethan's turn, he said he already had plans. A woman from out of town had come to see him, an old friend. They were staying at a small bed and breakfast outside the city and planned to take a walk in the park the next day. His friends were curious. Who was she? Why not bring her to the bar? Ethan avoided the questions. He never said her name. A short while later, he stepped outside and got into that white car. And after that, nothing. Something felt off, and everyone noticed. The reaction among Ethan's friends was cautious, almost uneasy. Several of them were surprised that he was leaving for the night with a woman no one had ever heard of, especially considering one thing. Ethan was in a long-term relationship and living with the mother of his children. Some of the people at the table had known him since high school. None of them remembered any former girlfriend from Virginia. His behavior felt uncharacteristic. In the past, Ethan never hid trips or meetings. He usually shared personal news openly. Then suddenly his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, stood up, and said quietly that his ride had arrived. One of his coworkers, also his direct supervisor, offered to walk him to the parking lot. Later, he would say he was simply curious. He wanted to see this mysterious woman for himself. Outside, it was already dark. Ethan walked toward a small white compact car parked near the entrance. From its shape, it was clear it was a smart car. Behind the wheel sat a dark-haired woman. Because of the poor lighting and distance, her face was impossible to make out. They said goodbye. The supervisor went back inside and told the others what he'd seen. The mood at the table shifted. Conversations continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Some speculated about a possible affair. Others just couldn't understand why Ethan was being so secretive. None of them thought, even for a second, that this was the last time they would ever see him. The silence begins. The morning of March 6th, 2021, didn't immediately raise alarm. Ethan had said he would be home by evening. No one wanted to overreact. But as the day went on, he didn't respond to messages. Calls went straight to voicemail. His phone was powered off. By 8 p.m., his partner began calling his friends, trying to piece together where he might be. Several of them confirmed the same thing. He had left the bar the night before with a woman and got into a white smart car. No one knew who she was. No one knew where they were going. No one had ever heard her name. The conversations only made the fear worse. It became clear that Ethan had deliberately kept this meeting secret, even from people he trusted for years. His partner checked every possible way to reach him. Nothing. The last message she received from Ethan had arrived at 10:49 p.m. the night before. After that, complete silence. More than 24 hours had passed since he left home. Disappearing without explanation was not something Ethan ever did. A missing person report. Late on the evening of March 6th, Ethan's parents contacted the Riverview Police Department. They officially reported their son missing. His mother was firm. He would not have left voluntarily. She told officers that Ethan would never disappear without warning, never abandon his children and partner without a word. The family stressed that nothing like this had ever happened before. Police took the reports seriously. Because Ethan was an adult, standard procedures applied. Still, officers immediately noted that the circumstances were troubling. Within hours, they began checking hospitals, jails, traffic accidents, and nearby hotels. Nothing. Without access to Ethan's phone, investigators had very little to work with. No one knew where he planned to stay that night. He had never mentioned the name of the bed and breakfast. The woman's identity remained unknown. The only solid lead was a witness statement. A dark-haired woman driving a white smart car. It wasn't enough to justify large-scale searches outside the city. Searches in Riverview and surrounding areas led nowhere. Ethan wasn't with friends, not at work, not listed in any medical facilities. There were no incident reports matching his description. Police continued questioning family members and co-workers, trying to reconstruct possible routes. But for now, Ethan Miller had vanished without a trace. From missing to murder. At the same time, investigators requested surveillance footage from the area around the bar, the last place Ethan had been seen alive. Late in the evening of March 6th, his case was officially reclassified. What had started as a temporary absence was now labeled a disappearance. Nearly 24 hours had passed. No contact, no phone activity. The case was given priority. By then, Ethan's family and friends understood something crucial. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a delay. Something was seriously wrong. A discovery in the woods. On the morning of March 9th, 2021, the Valley View Police Department received an urgent call. A group of hikers walking through a national park had found a body. The man was lying just off a pedestrian trail, only a few feet from the path, easy to reach, but not directly visible from the road. The park sat between two counties, surrounded by highways and densely populated areas. Officers arrived within minutes. The area was immediately secured. The scene. The victim was dressed in dark clothing. A leather jacket, a hooded sweatshirt, fingerless gloves, dark jeans, and boots. On the ground nearby lay a plastic bottle of bottled water, still half full. There was no phone, no wallet, no identification. A preliminary examination suggested the body had been there at least 2 days. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence the body had been dragged. It appeared the man had been killed exactly where he was found. Then investigators noticed the wound. A gunshot to the back of the head. Death had been instantaneous. The trajectory of the bullet, from top to bottom, suggested the victim had been sitting or standing, with the shooter positioned close by. The body was transported to the medical examiner's office. At the same time, detectives cross-checked missing persons reports. Confirmation. When officers from Riverview recognized the description, they rushed to the scene. The next day, the identity was confirmed. The victim was Ethan Miller, missing for 4 days. Fingerprint records and a distinctive tattoo on his arm, described by family, left no doubt. His family was notified. The cause of death was officially ruled a gunshot wound to the head. The investigation was no longer a search. It was now a homicide case. One lead. Only one. With Ethan's identity confirmed, detectives focused on the only solid clue they had. The white smart car. The co-worker who had walked Ethan to the parking lot repeated what he'd seen. A small white car. A dark-haired woman behind the wheel. He couldn't remember the license plate. Her face was hidden by darkness. Investigators turned to surveillance cameras. Tracing the car. The bar's parking lot, it turned out, had no cameras, but nearby highway ramps did. At 5:46 p.m., cameras captured a white smart car heading toward Riverview, about 15 minutes before Ethan arrived at the bar. That footage confirmed the vehicle's direction. The next stop came at 6:15 p.m. A gas station camera recorded the same car pulling in. This time, Ethan was clearly visible. He stepped out, entered the store, and bought a bottle of water, cigarettes, and canned drinks. That same bottle of water was later found lying next to his body. The timeline breaks, and then comes the name. This is where investigators finally managed to stop the blur of events and turn it into a continuous timeline. Further analysis of surveillance footage and highway scanners showed the white smart car heading north toward Cleveland. Using toll road data and traffic sensors, detectives reconstructed the route with precision. The car arrived at a house rented through Airbnb on Ashbury Avenue, on the east side of Cleveland. When officers contacted the property owner and showed him a photo of Ethan, he immediately confirmed it. Yes, Ethan had stayed there for one night. Staff members who serviced the property also remembered the arrival. Ethan had not come alone. He was with a dark-haired woman. A name finally appears. After submitting a formal request to Airbnb, investigators received the booking information. The reservation had been made under the name Claire Walker. A background check revealed something unexpected. Claire and Ethan had attended the same high school, but had not been in contact for many years. No one in Ethan's life had ever heard her name. For the first time, he had told no one who he was spending the weekend with. With her identity confirmed, police began collecting information about Claire and locating her current residence, reconstructing the final hours. By combining surveillance footage, toll records, phone geolocation data, and Airbnb booking logs, investigators reconstructed the meeting step by step. On March 5th, at approximately 6:30 p.m., Ethan and Claire arrived at the rented house on Ashbury Avenue. The home was booked for one night under Claire's name. Security cameras nearby confirmed the white smart car parked outside and remained there all night. No one entered. No one left. No activity until morning. The drive into the park. At 8:37 a.m. on March 6th, both phones, Ethan's and Claire's, began moving. Location data showed they left Cleveland and headed toward Cuyahoga Valley National Park. At 9:45 a.m., both devices connected simultaneously to a cell tower near the southern entrance of the park. The data matched the route previously recorded by traffic cameras. The spot where Ethan's body would later be found was within walking distance of that tower. GPS data showed the vehicle stopping in a parking area. Both phones remained stationary for a period of time. The last message. At 10:49 a.m., Ethan sent one final text message to his partner. He said he would be home that evening. That was the last recorded activity on his phone. About 30 minutes later, Ethan's device went silent. No more calls. No more messages. The phone was either powered off or switched to airplane mode. Claire's phone, however, remained active. The evidence no one could ignore. Forensic testing on the water bottle found near Ethan's body revealed two DNA profiles. One belonged to Ethan. The other belonged to Claire Walker. This became the first piece of physical evidence placing her at the murder scene. Investigators knew the bottle had been purchased earlier, in Claire's presence, and later ended up lying beside Ethan's body. That meant only one thing. She had been with him shortly before his death, and likely at the moment it happened. Further forensic analysis deepened the conclusion. Material found under Ethan's fingernails. and microscopic hair fragments on his clothing matched Claire's genetic profile. There was no doubt left. Claire Walker was the last person to see Ethan Miller alive. While he lay dead, she kept driving. After Ethan's body was discovered, detectives didn't stop. They kept following Claire's car. Toll road records showed the white Smart leaving Ohio at 1 p.m. on March 6th, heading north. Soon after, the vehicle appeared near Toledo and then crossed into Michigan. That same evening, a surveillance camera captured the car pulling into the parking lot of a tattoo studio. According to staff, a dark-haired woman arrived alone. She showed her ID. The name matched: Claire Walker. She stayed inside for several hours. She got a new tattoo. Employees later said nothing about her behavior seemed unusual. No panic, no distress. She paid in cash and left. What a great weekend. Later that day, Claire posted a photo on her personal social media account. It was a mirror selfie, the fresh tattoo clearly visible. The caption read, "What a great weekend." The location tag confirmed the post was made in Michigan. There was no hint, no reference, nothing to suggest that, just hours earlier, a man she had been with was lying dead in a national park. Back to normal. Starting March 7th, traffic cameras recorded Claire's car traveling south toward Virginia. She returned home to Arlington, and then she went on with her life. No attempts to hide, no sudden moves, no signs of fear. Over the following weeks, Claire remained active online. She posted everyday photos, interacted normally, showed no interest in the growing investigation. The search warrant. On March 30th, 2021, investigators finally moved forward. By then, more than 3 weeks had passed since Ethan's death, but the evidence was already overwhelming. She had been with him in the park. Her DNA was at the scene. Their route was mapped through cameras and toll records. The Airbnb booking was in her name. Phone data placed them together until the final moments. That morning, FBI agents arrived at Claire's home. She was there. She opened the door calmly, did not resist. When questioned, she expressed surprise and immediately requested an attorney. The weapon. During the search, agents found a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. It was legally registered to Claire. Ballistics testing later confirmed it. The fatal shot to the back of Ethan Miller's head had been fired from that weapon. Investigators also seized phones, documents, clothing, and accessories, items that matched what had been captured on surveillance footage in Cleveland and the park. DNA results from the water bottle and from beneath Ethan's fingernails completed the picture. The case was solid, and yet she was still free. Despite all of it, Claire Walker was not arrested immediately. For months after the murder, she continued living in Virginia. She didn't move, didn't disappear, didn't act like someone under pressure. To the outside world, she looked calm, almost untouched, and that raised one final question. Why was she so confident nothing would happen to her when waiting for justice becomes unbearable? As weeks passed, confusion inside Ethan's family turned into anger. No one felt it more deeply than his mother, Tommy Miller. She could not accept that the main suspect in her son's murder was still free. To her, it looked like the system had stopped moving. Letters, calls, appeals to investigators and prosecutors. Nothing changed. No arrest date. Only explanations about procedure and process. A mother breaking apart. The waiting began to take a toll. Tommy stopped sleeping. She spent nights at her computer, searching for information about Claire. She studied social media profiles, wrote down addresses, tracked travel details. All of this while grieving the loss of her son. Months passed, and desperation turned into obsession. If the law would not deliver justice, she convinced herself that she would. A fatal mistake. In the fall of 2021, Tommy persuaded her husband, John, to help her carry out a plan. They ordered courier uniforms online, rented a vehicle, prepared packages to look like deliveries. The idea was simple: gain access under a false pretense. Tommy believed she had identified Claire's address in Washington, D.C. She was wrong. Claire actually lived in Arlington, Virginia. In November, the couple drove to the selected house. John stayed in the car. Tommy, dressed as a delivery worker, approached the door holding a package. A woman answered. Seeing the uniform, she had no reason to be suspicious. Moments later, Tommy realized she had made a devastating mistake. The woman had no connection to Ethan, no connection to Claire. She survived after emergency medical treatment, an irreversible end. Neighbors, alerted by the disturbance, called the police. Officers arrived within minutes. Tommy attempted to flee, but was quickly located nearby. Faced with the consequences of what she had done, she took her own life. She was 57 years old. Aftermath. John Miller was arrested at the scene. He did not attempt to escape. He was later charged with conspiracy and involvement in the attack. During questioning, he stated that he acted under pressure from his wife. The family was left completely shattered. Ethan's two young children had now lost their father and their grandmother. Public reaction to the tragedy intensified scrutiny of the investigation. At the time of Tommy's death, Claire Walker was still not under arrest. Tommy never lived to see the moment when the case finally moved forward. Her actions became a tragic example of what can happen when grief, anger, and delay collide. The arrest, 9 months too late. It wasn't until December 9th, 2021, 9 months after the murder, that Claire Walker was finally arrested. She was taken into custody at her registered address. According to officers, she remained calm. She did not resist. She refused to give a statement. Claire was formally charged with first-degree murder. The court denied bail, citing the severity of the crime, the strength of the evidence, and the risk of flight. From that moment on, Claire remained in pretrial detention. Her attorneys appealed the decision. The court upheld it, a case years in the making. Prosecutors submitted a massive case file to the court. Eyewitness testimony, ballistic reports, surveillance footage, phone records, Airbnb booking confirmations. In a complete digital reconstruction of Claire's movements. From 2022 through 2024, the case slowly moved through the system. Claire maintained her innocence. Her defense argued the evidence was circumstantial. Her position did not change. Until spring of 2025, the confession. In May 2025, more than 4 years after Ethan Miller's death, Claire Walker changed her plea. She agreed to a deal with prosecutors and formally pleaded guilty. Under the agreement, she faced 27 to 31 years in prison, with time already served credited. Final sentencing was scheduled for a later date. In exchange, Claire gave her explanation. Her version of the motive. Claire claimed the murder was an act of revenge. In a statement read in court, she alleged that in 2017, during a party in their hometown, Ethan had sexually assaulted her. She said she reported the incident to police, but the case was closed weeks later due to lack of evidence. No charges were filed. Ethan was never held accountable. Years later, Claire said she came across Ethan on social media. She reached out. According to her, the meeting was never about reconnecting. She said the plan had already been made. The tattoo trip, the rental house, the invitation, everything, she claimed, was deliberate. What could and couldn't be proven? Investigators confirmed that a police report from 2017 did exist. It had been closed after 3 weeks. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, no charges. There was also no proof confirming Ethan's guilt. His family and friends firmly rejected Claire's claims, saying he was not capable of such an act because Ethan was deceased. The court could not fully investigate or verify her allegations. The confession prevented a lengthy jury trial, but it did not resolve the deeper questions. The sentence. On September 9th, 2025, the court delivered its final decision. 25 years in prison, with no possibility of parole until the sentence is served. With time already credited, Claire Walker will remain incarcerated until approximately 2050, an ending without closure. The case came to a legal conclusion, but not a moral one. Claire's motive was never confirmed by objective evidence. It remains, officially, only her word. Public opinion remains divided. Some see her actions as revenge for a wrong that was never answered. Others see a calculated murder built on an unproven claim. There is no conclusion that satisfies everyone. Only consequences. Final words. This case left behind. 2 children without a father. A family destroyed by grief. And a justice system questioned from every side. If you want more real stories where the truth is complicated and the answers are never simple, subscribe to the channel and explore our other investigations. Thank you for watching.